Section 11 of Fantasy, Fairies and Ghosts by Various. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Carasoyn, Chapter 7. The Banished Fairies. Those fairies had for a long time been doing wicked things. They had played many ill-natured pranks upon the human mortals, had stolen children upon whom they had no claim, had refused to deliver them up when they were demanded of them, had even terrified infants in their cradles, and, final proof of moral declension in fairies, had attempted to get rid of the obligations of their word by all kinds of trickery and false logic. It was not till they had sunk thus low that their queen began to long for the Carasoyn. She, no more than if she had been a daughter of Adam, could be happy while going on in that way, and therefore, having heard of its marvellous virtues, and thinking it would stop her growing misery, she tried hard to procure it. For 100 years she had tried in vain. Not till Colin arose did she succeed. But the Carasoyn was only for really good people, and therefore, when the iron bottle which contained it was uncorked, she and all her attendants were, by the vapours thereof, suddenly changed into old men and women fairies. They crowded away weeping and lamenting, and Colin had as yet seen them no more. For when the wickedness of any fairy tribe reaches its climax, the punishment that falls upon them is that they are compelled to leave that part of the country where they and their ancestors have lived for more years than they can count, and wander away, driven by an inward restlessness, ever longing after the country they have left, but never able to turn round and go back to it, always thinking they will do so tomorrow, but when tomorrow comes, saying tomorrow again, till at last they find, not their old home, but the place of their doom, that is, a place where their restlessness leaves them, and they find they can remain. This partial repose, however, springs from no satisfaction with the place. It is only that their inward doom ceases to drive them further. They sit down to weep, and to long after the country they have left. This is not because the country to which they have been driven is ugly, and inclement it may or may not be such. It is simply because it is not their country. If it would be, and it must be, torture to the fairy of a harebell to go and live in a hyacinth, a torture quite analogous to which many human beings undergo from their birth to their death, and some of them longer. For anything I can think what it must be for the tribe of fairies to have to go and live in a country quite different from that in and for which they were born. To the whole tribe, the country is what the flower is to the individual, and when a fairy is born to whom the whole country is what the individual flower is to the individual fairy, then the fairy is king or queen of the fairies, and always makes a new nursery rhyme for the young fairies, which is never forgotten. When, therefore, a tribe is banished, it is long before they can settle themselves into their new quarters. Their clothes do not fit them, as it were. They are constantly wriggling themselves into harmony with their new circumstances, which is only another word for clothes, and never quite succeeding. It is their punishment and something more. Consequently, their temper is not always of the evenest. Indeed, and in a word, they are as like human mortals as may well be, considering the differences between them. In the present case, you would say it was surely no great hardship to be banished from the heathy hills, the bare rocks, the wee trotting burnies of Scotland, to the rich valleys, the wooded shores, the great rivers, the grand ocean of the south of Devon. You may say they could not have been very wicked when this was all their punishment. If you do, you must have studied the human mortals to no great purpose. You do not believe that a man may be punished by being made very rich? I do. Anyhow, these fairies were not of your opinion, for they were in it. In the splendour of their Devon banishment they sighed for their bare Scotland. Under the leafy foliage of the Devonshire valleys, with the purple and green ocean before them, that had seen ships of 1,000 builds, or on the shore, rich with shells and many-coloured creatures, they longed for the clear, cold, pensive, open sides of the far-stretching heathy sweeps, to which a grey, wild, torn sea, with memories only of Norsemen, whales, and mermaids, cried aloud. For the big rivers, on which reposed great old hulks scarred with battle, they longed after the rocks and stones and rowan and birch trees of the solitary burns. The country they had left might be an ill-favoured thing, but it was their own. Now, that which happens to the aspect of a country when the fairies leave it, is that a kind of deadness falls over the landscape. The traveller feels the wind as before, but it does not seem to refresh him. The child sighs over his daisy chain, and cannot find a red-tipped one amongst all that he has gathered. The cowslips have not half the honey in them. The wasps outnumber the bees. The horses come from the plough more tired at night, hanging their heads to their very hoofs as they plod homewards. The youth and the maiden, though perfectly happy when they meet, find the road to and from the trysting-place unaccountably long and dreary. The hawthorn blossom is neither so white nor so red as it used to be, and the dark, rough bark looks through and makes it ragged. The day is neither so warm nor the night so friendly as before. In a word, that something which no one can describe or be content to go without is missing. Everything is commonplace. Everything falls short of one's expectations. But it does not follow that the country to which the fairies are banished is so much richer and more beautiful for their presence. If that country has its own fairies it needs no more, and Devon in especial has been rich in fairies from the time of the Phoenicians, and ever so long before that. But supposing there were no aborigines left to quarrel with, it takes centuries before the new immigration can fit itself into its new home. Until this comes about, the queerest things are constantly happening. For however could a convolvulus grow right with the soul of a Canterbury bell inside it, for instance? The banished fairies are forced to do the best they can, and take the flowers the nearest they can find. End of section 11.